Have you ever been scammed while travelling abroad? Touts in the street, beggars in the street, shonky customer service? Because if you have I got a story for you. Last night I went out, I got scammed by a 500% taxi rip-off. Stick around, here's what happened.
Hooray, Vietnam Steve is on his way.
So last night I met up with a colleague of mine. He came around here in the Grab and we decided to ditch that Grab and just get into a random taxi. Now I've done this many times here in Vietnam, and there's three different ways you can get a taxi. You can get a Grab, use an app obviously, that's like Uber. That works well, that's probably the cheapest way. That's not what I do. You can jump in a particular brand of taxi in this town of mine here. They're coloured light green, they're all electric cars, and they bang on the app and they're generally pretty reliable. A little bit more expensive than the Grab, still pretty cheap. Or you can use their app to hail them. Now I live in an apartment block. I don't need to use the app to hail that particular taxi company because I can walk out the front and there's one guy standing there and I just jump in. And the third way is you can get into a random car with taxi written on the roof that has a meter, but sometimes that meter is in the taxi from the taxi company, and sometimes that meter is an app on their phone. So last night, my colleague got out of his Grab. We ummed and ahed of what we were going to do. It was very difficult to find where we had to go. But in the meantime, I jumped in the first available taxi. Boy, was that a mistake. So first up, I'm getting in this taxi and there's a little kid getting out of the taxi. I think it's the taxi driver. She was a lady, her kid's going inside. We jump in the taxi, we decide where we have to go. I actually had to call up my wife and get her to speak in Vietnamese to the taxi driver to say where we have to go. I saw her bang on the meter on her phone, digital meter. Thought, okay, we're off we go. I was concerned because the flag fall was $2, and you don't usually have much of a flag fall here, and I thought 50,000 was a very large flag fall. Particularly where I was going should have only cost, at the worst, in a random pickup taxi like this, 200,000. So flag fall's 50,000. But as it turns out, should have been much, much cheaper than that. So we traverse to where we have to go. It's not very far. In fact, it's 4.99 kilometres, 5 kilometres. When we get out of the taxi, she shows me the meter and it's 520,000. Now I was expecting to give this lady 200,000 because I could tell by her vehicle she was a rip-off merchant, after I got in the vehicle, of course. And I was not happy, so I told her that, but yeah, all of a sudden she didn't even understand sign language. I gave her 500,000 because after all, we're talking peanuts here. 500,000 though is about $20, $25. It should have been 200,000. I wasn't happy. So the evening progresses through and I tell the people I'm having dinner with about this, and they quickly look up on the app how much that fare should have been. And this is a lesson for all of us because quite often we think we're impervious to these kind of scams. And I've been in Vietnam here for 5 or 6 years, so I've never been ripped off by a taxi driver in the past. I've been charged a little bit extra by different people, but never a 500% rip-off. So should have cost 99,000. In fact, it's 100,000. Probably would have given her 120,000 dong, and look that up in your own currency. But anyway, needless to say, I've been stung by, for a lot of money in Vietnam, not a lot of money in the scheme of life. The lessons for this are many-fold, and here they go, 1, 2, 3, because you hear about this, you read about this, but you never think it's going to happen to you. So first up, I'd say the lesson to be learnt is don't jump into a taxi without saying or asking them, what is the fare going to be? Now, the complication I had was I didn't know where I was going. The name of the restaurant, when you put that name in, it's a single word, you put that name in, every restaurant has that word in it here. So there was many, many of them. She couldn't seem to find out where it was. Of course, no taxi drivers here know where they're going. I don't know whether that's a scam, it's an intellectual problem or what, but taxi drivers do not generally know where they're going here. You have to show them on the map. So I'm in the taxi before I've asked how much it's going to cost. Problem number one. Problem number two was I should have spoken up when I saw that flag fall hit 50,000, because that's a lot of money in Vietnam, particularly when the, should have only cost 100,000. So I should have spoken up, but I didn't. So that's on me. Both of these are on me. And then when I got there, coming from a Western country, you can't dispute the meter, because the meter is run by the government. In Vietnam, my dinner colleagues instructed me I should have just told her where to go, paid her what I thought it was worth, and got out. That's not my nature, and we're quibbling about a few dollars here. But it is, it can ruin your evening. The other thing is some of these meters that people have on their apps, well, it could be an app that you and I've made. It's not necessarily a regulated taxi company meter, as opposed to one that's up on the dashboard that may or may not be regulated by the taxi company, but looks a bit more official. So I guess my advice or my insight is don't jump into a taxi till you have ascertained the approximate fee from the taxi driver. Do make sure that they've got it on the meter. And what I'll be doing going forward, and I'm not using Grab here, simply because I have taxis out the front, but I do have the cheap taxi company's app on my phone now, and I didn't set that up because I didn't need to, but I've got that there now. So let that be a lesson for us all. If you like this kind of content, subscribe to the channel. I've got plenty more from where this came from. And also like the video, share it with your friends. And one last thing before I go, because scams of this nature are not the only thing to be aware of here. Look, there's always people asking for money in Vietnam, and some of them you might be wary of as a visitor here, but I've generally found the people that are asking for money on the street, unless they're turning up with a little kid that's tugging at your heartstrings, that's definitely not worth spending your money on. But people that want to clean your shoes, people that want to put a new screen on your phone, they're all making a living, so do support them where you can. I generally do. I even support the lady with the little girl tugging on your heartstrings, but I'm very, very wary of what she's doing, and I don't think she should be manipulating the child. So while there are a lot of street touts here in Vietnam, I haven't found them to be too aggressive, and I haven't found them to be unbelievably scam artists. That's just me. However, I was shocked to be duped by a taxi driver last night. Now, you've been watching Vietnam Steve. I hate to be bringing bad news to you, but it did happen to me and I have to report it here. Stay frosty, and I'll see you in the next one.